let's go see this Sound of Freedom movie.
Right.
Probably, to be honest, dads love the word freedom.
They also love American, like American Sniper.
Yeah.
America. Yeah.
A lot of dads were disappointed by American Horror Story.
Right.
They thought it was going to be a patriotic horror film.
Yeah, it's so weird that if conservatives like something,
it's all of a sudden QAnon likes it.
Yeah, it's like QAnon. I don't
it's
know
like
why.
Capitol Stormers like it. You know
Right.
what I mean?
You supported January 6th.
Right. If you like this movie, you're a Capitol Stormer. That happened. And I guess the moral of the story would be, watch out for your butts.
Watch out. Hold on to your butts.
Hold on to your butts.
The wise words of Samuel Jackson.
Hey, welcome back to the Wacky Wonderful Wise Works podcast. All you guys, gals, geeks, and goofballs, we're back at it. Back on the podcast.
We're back.
Absolutely.
We're back into it.
Thank you guys for showing up today for my episode.
Wait,
For
us
a-
specifically or the
Yes,
viewer?
thank you.
Oh, I thought you were
You.
talking about the viewer. I'm like,
No,
yeah,
I'm
thank you,
asking-
viewer,
thanking
but
you.
yeah,
But
thank
thanks
me.
to the viewer as well. We
You
do
know,
appreciate you.
we each take turns producing an episode, and so whenever you guys show up for an episode that I produce, I'm thankful. I'm glad you're here. You know, I'm like, I know you guys begrudgingly enter episodes that I produce. So thank you for showing up.
I don't know. I mean, usually we'll have a discussion, like a pre-meeting beforehand. Usually on Fridays, we'll be like, "Hey, you got the podcast? Everything good?" But we did not do that at all until this morning. I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna hope Joseph's got it covered. If not, we'll figure something out. And we didn't talk about it at all. So I was like, I guess he knows that it's his week for the podcast. And so
I always know. Well, I don't always know.
No,
but I always
no, you're always the guy that questions what week is it. But no, you came prepared and everything's good. So
absolutely
ready to go.
We got some invigorating topics for you today. But before
They're
we get
invigorating.
into that, define invigorating for me real quick, Joshua.
Okay, exciting, intriguing, and pulls you in, I guess.
All right, Wyatt,
they're exciting
give me
and pulls
definition
you
for
in.
invigorating.
Invigorating would be to feel like a surge of vigor or vitality inside of you, to like
You
feel
can't
like
use the
energy.
word to describe the word.
That's what it comes from, is vigor. When you have vigor,
Okay, but
you
you
have
can't
energy, you have
define
power.
vigor then.
It's invigorating would be to feel powerful. These feel like powerful, strong, energetic topics.
Okay,
Right,
I hope we
right.
bring invigorating topics for you today because
Made strong. from
Joseph
a
set
verb,
the bar
invigorate.
like way up
We want to
here.
fill you with our vigor.
We're gonna be no, we're not feeling anybody with any vigor.
That's what we want to do. Yep.
Cool.
Any interesting movies you guys or media you guys have been saving to talk about in this episode? Anything you guys have been enjoying? I know we kind of touched on it in the pre-show, but the internet has been on fire the last week with this whole Oppenheimer Barbie thing.
Well,
right?
we know that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is going to be the greatest thing we see ever.
We did see
based
that
on that last commercial.
Right.
No, I haven't been watching too much.
No,
I've been
it
watching
feels like
I've been watching King of the Hill is what I've been watching.
you can watch a ton of that.
The King of the Hill is an amazing show. As a kid, I didn't watch it because I thought it was like Family Guy or The Simpsons or South Park, that it was like just another gratuitous adult cartoon.
Mhm.
Going back and watching it as an adult, it's rather wholesome.
Right.
And
Propane and propane accessories.
yeah, it's a lot of kind of like
You watch King of the Hill?
Have I?
Yeah.
No, I just know the memes, dude.
it's a lot of really good like dry delivery of jokes.
It's a lot of dad humor.
Yeah, and dad
that sounds
humor,
good.
and I really like it.
That's
I
exactly
really
what it is.
Enjoy watching it. It's very entertaining. It's very easy to throw on in the background and just let it play.
What's it on? What can you watch it on?
It's on Hulu.
Gotcha. So you got to sit through all them long
you have to
ads.
You
sit
gotta
through
sit
them
through the ads.
stupid commercials.
And
Oh
they're
my
only 20
god.
minutes long, so why are we
Yeah, each
watching a
episode is
20-minute
20
show?
minutes, so you get, like, 3 ad breaks, and one is at the very end. So
Right.
sometimes there's a, a little after credit, like, 3-second scene,
Mhm.
and you have to sit through like, 2 almost 2-minute long ad
For a
Right.
small
to
scene.
watch just one small little scene.
Imma
That's
be honest,
terrible.
I have a there's a conspiracy that I think
Mm,
that Hulu I mean, they're owned by Disney, right? So,
yes.
I think Hulu creates big shows and somehow they get them super popular, and they didn't create this, FX did, but it airs on Hulu. The Bear, right?
Mhm,
Mhm,
You got Handmaid's Tale,
mhm.
right? You got these big shows that everyone talks about, but
mhm.
the ad breaks are frequent and long.
Yeah.
Yes.
And also, they do not target their ads like YouTube do.
No, they're just,
So
like,
they
shotgunning their ads.
you get
And you
ads
know
for
what?
everything.
Every
And
once in a while, you'll watch something and it's like, maybe this is I think this is Hulu, but it's like, would you like to skip all of the ads and watch
Mhm.
this one long, like, 3-minute movie trailer ad or thing before the show starts?
right.
And especially if it's a movie or even a TV show, it's like, yes, every time, yes.
Here's the thing.
I would watch a 4-minute ad before every episode rather than a bunch of
It
1 minute to
yeah.
2-minute ads.
Here's the thing. Peacock and Hulu have gotta get theirself figured out because right now, the streaming world has to be and like one or the other. It's either free with ads
Mm,
or it is paid with no ads. Peacock and Hulu,
Ne
you pay money and you still
and
get ads.
and Netflix.
that's wild.
Netflix has an option that's a $5 option now that
That's so dumb. That
it's a
is
$5
so
and ads.
dumb. That is so dumb. Why
Mhm.
are we doing paid with ads?
Well, I mean,
It's
think
the
about
old
it.
model. It's the cable
It is
model.
the old model. It's you pay for cable, but you still get ads. I understand it.
No, I don't understand
The
it.
reason it is the way it is because this is why we're seeing such bad movies and TV shows coming out, partially because the people writing them suck, but also partially nobody's making money off of streaming.
No. Well,
Nobody's
somebody is.
really
Eh,
Netflix found a
people
niche,
probably
but
are.
even Netflix is losing money
I
and
don't
everybody's scrambling to
Max is
figure out
making money.
how do we make money because everything is streaming now.
yeah.
There's not competition. Everything is streaming. So how do we make money? And it's ads. It's always been ads. That's how YouTube has been streaming since it started.
Yes,
YouTube is the
but
first streaming and they
YouTube is free with ads. Like, they
yeah,
even have movies
always.
on YouTube now free with ads.
Right.
Or you can buy and rent this movie, right?
Mhm.
On
But
YouTube.
the big movie apps, they don't have the free with ads doesn't work as well for them because people aren't spending a lot of time on those apps. People spend hundreds of thousands of hours on YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But what you need is to make money, and if you gotta if they want you to pay $5 with ads, I feel like they've been backed into a corner and they have to do it.
right.
I don't see
I
an alternative.
Well, maybe to stay afloat, they have to do ads, but, I mean, it's interesting how YouTube is kind of coming in behind and
Mm,
saying, like, "Look, it's nothing to store your film on our server.
yeah.
Give people the option of watching it with ads, and you
Mhm.
Mhm.
make some money," because we know right now okay, for example, I saw The Big Short on YouTube, free with ads,
Yeah.
right? Had a good lineup of actors, but it's about the 2008 crash.
Mm,
I don't no one's talking about it. I don't think it's making any money, right?
mm-mm.
So it's like
It's probably making a little
you
bit.
can throw maybe a tiny bit, or you can put it on YouTube, give it new lifeblood, free with ads. Who knows what the ad deals are for how much money these movie studios get for YouTube ads, like what their YouTube channels look like, right? Through that avenue. And also people are talking about, another crash in the market. So The Big Short's going to kind of people are going to get interested again. So what's more viable? Do you put it on a streaming and create like a contract, or do you put it on YouTube, let everyone watch it free with ads and make as much ad money as possible, depending on how many people view it? And if it's free on YouTube, people will watch it, right?
Well, you remember YouTube tried to do their streaming thing. They tried to. What was it? YouTube Red or something?
Started YouTube Red, turned into YouTube Premium. They tried to make exclusive content, and then they stopped.
And I did it. I got the free trial for the premium so I could watch Cobra Kai. And I loved Cobra Kai. But it didn't work out, and it was almost like the reverse of what's happening. It was like YouTube couldn't handle a movie studio or a TV show studio, so they had to sell all of their movies and TV shows, their assets, or
put them up free. Put them up for free and get the ad money.
Put them up for free, and now it's like they've kind of figured out what they are. It's weird.
I think the reason why it didn't work is because of the age of the audience on YouTube compared to streamers are a lot younger, and like you don't. I 100% think there is everybody, but go look at guava fruit or like the fruit, the kids stuff compared to the adult stuff are getting millions and millions more. Billions more views. So kids aren't going to be paying
billions of views isn't what it takes to make something successful. We know that. We've seen that with TV shows and movies and stuff where, a TV show will go for years because it has a couple thousand people watching. That's not what it needed. But we know that as many kids are on YouTube, there's plenty of adults on YouTube.
Yes.
The reason it failed is because they were trying to do too much during the streaming boom, where everybody wanted to be Netflix, and they didn't have the capital.
I would agree.
Netflix, remember, they started slow and progressed slow. Even though they were the first ones to the game with streaming, they still progressed slow. They were like Redbox, but through the mail, right? They were sending you DVDs to watch, and then you have to send them back.
Well, they started as competition to Blockbuster, which was
you don't have to leave your home.
You don't have to leave your home. You can order it, and you get 3 movies. And Blockbuster was doing a thing where they did the same thing where you ordered, but you got 1 movie.
Right.
You got 1 movie, and it was like $24 or something ridiculous. And then Netflix was cheaper, and you got 3 movies, dude.
Yeah.
And then you could go on their website online, and they had a bunch of not as good movies. And then eventually they started adding stuff that people were watching on the computer, like The Office. Dude.
Yes. Well, that wasn't, The Office was a big deal, right? That's what kept Netflix afloat for sure. But it kind of kept them afloat. What kind of established them as who they are today was, gotta be honest, Kevin Spacey with House of Cards.
It was House of Cards.
It's interesting.
And by the way, he was let off.
Peacock is almost like the new Netflix, kind of.
What? Kind of, but did you guys hear about Kevin Spacey this week?
No.
What?
He won his trial. He's not going to prison. He was found not guilty.
Interesting.
So Kevin Spacey, whatever he did or did not do, he is in the law's eyes innocent.
But no, it's almost like Peacock is the new Netflix with like putting all those beloved streamers on Peacock now. Like,
well, Peacock is owned by the company that owns The Office. That's why it's over there.
But they also have like
Peacock.
New Girl. They have.
I think it's like Universal or something. I don't think it's
probably Universal.
It's not like Peacock is the streaming service for whoever owns like the studio that does own The Office and Parks and Rec and all those.
Yeah. What's our first topic?
All right. So the first topic, I mean, talking about controversy and talking about competition.
This is going to be just a controversial episode. You should have said,
no,
this is not
just
going
at
to
the
be an
beginning.
invigorating episode. This is going to be a controversial episode.
I think it's already
I think controversy can be invigorating.
It can be both. Right. Yeah.
It depends. It depends on how you define it, honestly. Sound of Freedom.
Yeah.
Starring
Jim
Caviezel. Now, freaking, this is a controversial movie, and no one saw that coming. No one saw this controversy coming.
Yeah.
Right? So, what are your thoughts first before we get into the controversy around this?
So first, I haven't seen the movie yet.
None of us have.
I need to watch this movie. It's been on my list, but I just been busy and stuff.
So, I mean, there's so much stuff that's being said about it, and
it is currently still in its theatrical run. It has apparently made $125 million.
That's really good.
Which is good because
I mean, what was the budget for the movie?
Angel Studios.
I'll find out. Let me find the IMDb. Keep talking while I look for it.
It's just putting it back in the pocket of Angel Studios, so that's good. Mm-hmm. It's crazy that it's still, so this is several weeks after it came out. I mean, it came out in July 4th weekend, I think, and we're into August at this point, and people are still talking about it. People are still saying things are going on, which we got a few things we're going to talk about it, but I was hearing people talk about this. This is on YouTube. This has not been, we don't have proof of this, but there was people that were watching on YouTube that went to go see it, and the theater sold them a ticket for the movie, and then played Through the Spider-Verse. They weren't even playing the movie, and they had to get a refund, which that's all speculation. That's just word of mouth of what I'm hearing.
So there's conspiracy that they're shutting down.
They're just
no one can watch this movie.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that's weird. That's interesting.
But Joseph had some proof of some article stuff that people are saying that's
I don't have proof of any conspiracy, but I do have speculation from articles of why people are hating on this movie. First off, the budget was over 14 million. Opening weekend apparently blew that budget out of the water with almost 20 million.
That's very impressive.
So at over 125, apparently IMDb says 136 million.
They've made all that money.
Oh, they've
made so much money from that.
This kind of return on investment is what every studio wants and is there. And I wanted to say wet dream, but that would be vulgar.
I think that what a lot of people's issue is people who want to have an issue with the movie is that it's they're just making money off of this horrible situation. Yeah. I mean, yes, they're making a movie so that they can make money so that we can, continue to,
bring awareness,
make more things that people will see.
When have we ever in culture had an awareness of protecting abused children as we do in July of 2023? How in the past 200 years has there ever been a movement of protecting the children like there has been this past month?
And I think a lot of anybody who says that, anybody who turns their nose up to that notion of we need to keep kids safe, and protected from all manner of
abuse
and
by the way, that in my mind, in my mind, that includes exposing children to sexual content like drag shows, right?
Yeah,
100%. That's abuse.
I think any kind of sexual content for the most part. I don't think kids should watch, explicit movies either, TV shows.
100%.
And if you turn your nose up to that or to a movie where that's the message, then
I think it kind of makes you a bad person.
Yeah, you're bordering that line that crosses over into immorality.
Yes.
And just it's almost you can't comprehend. It's like, why would you even people with children even?
All right. Well,
It's
let me
crazy.
go. Let's go
Yeah.
ahead and
You want to
dive
read
into
the
that.
article?
Why indeed? So, first, this article says it's from today. All
Mm,
right. Sound of Freedom. Why this surprise box office hit causing controversy. All right. So it goes in a little bit to like explain the movie, what it's
Mhm.
about for people that don't already know. It's also
mhm,
just fluff for these stupid articles. Everyone knows about this movie. So why Sound of Freedom is sparking controversy? So really, the first point they're making is some experts have challenged the factual accuracy of Sound of Freedom, saying it paints an inaccurate, sensationalized picture of child trafficking. The film portrays children being snatched and kidnapped by strangers. While this can certainly happen, okay, so they already are admitting it happens and
mhm.
are going to downplay that fact. It's a
Yeah.
myth that most traffickers target victims that they don't know. According to the Polaris, whatever,
Mhm.
an organization that operates in the U.S. National Human Trafficking Hotline. So apparently, they're saying that most trafficking happens by romantic partners, which that is also a issue, but that is
Yeah.
not the issue that this film is covering. This film is covering something that, while certainly happens, children trafficking, right?
Right.
That's what this film is about, and that's what
Mhm.
this movie's about.
That's the thing. Both things can be true.
Yes,
Mhm.
doesn't negate that kids are being
The movie's not saying that the other thing's not true, because it
right.
very much is. Both things can be true.
Right. And both are bad. That
Mm.
does not mean we get to say this is factually inaccurate because
Yeah,
of
because it's not
I'm
portraying the other
sorry.
thing.
What does it show 2 million kids getting snatched up in a van? No, it probably shows 1 or 2 or 5 in the
Mm.
movie, right?
Mhm.
I would say those are probably accurate numbers.
And, it's so if you were to use a different movie as an example of this, like, what's the one with, Hugh Jackman, Jake Gyllenhaal?
Prisoners.
Prisoners. If
Prisoners.
you were to use that, if you were to after that movie, if you were to say,
Directed by
"Wow,
Denis Villeneuve, by the way.
kids getting kidnapped is very bad."
Right.
Mhm.
You come away from that movie thinking that. It's like, yeah, it's a dangerous world to just
Yeah.
let your kids go out and play. If you've got that message from that movie and not from this movie, I mean,
And
that's
by
it's
the way,
got
this is
it's kinda
based on a
hypocritical. It's the same stuff.
yeah, based on a real event, this movie.
Mhm.
Based on a true story about this guy who's literally part of a a rescue group for
Mhm.
children. These are not
Yeah.
stories that are fictionalized. These are based on his actual
Yeah.
experiences. So they're basically saying like, "Oh, what this guy experienced, this whatever,
Mhm.
this study proves that his real world experience is inaccurate." Right?
That it's not that sensationalized. It's like I don't think that matters.
It doesn't
As long
matter.
as long as it's like watching, Narcos, where it's like,
Yeah,
oh, they're sensationalizing all of
the cartel.
the cartel, the cops, everything. It's like, yeah, but,
I
it's
think we
based in
froze a little
reality.
bit.
It's based on, uh, some of it's based on some of the stuff that actually happened.
Right. It's foolishness. Let's go to another
Okay.
issue that I think is actually a bigger problem for all these people
Mhm.
that have an issue with this film. All right. Why are some people linking Sound of Freedom to QAnon?
Yeah, this was an interesting point that I was seeing people make about QAnon.
All
Well, like,
right. So some critics of Sound of Freedom take issue that its popularity among supporters of QAnon as far-right conspiracy group that promotes the baseless claim that former President Trump is fighting a secret war against a network of Satanist child abusers in government, entertainment, and the media.
yeah.
QAnon's theories proliferate on social media.
Proliferate.
So basically, they're mad that Look, this is liberal media, so they're mad that people of conservative values like this movie.
Yeah, I feel like
And they're calling it
that's the
QAnon.
underlying thing. I don't know much about QAnon.
They're mad that this ain't Barbie, yo.
Yeah. Can we not just have a movie that people enjoy that has a message that's positive? It's a positive message. Well, I think no matter what side of the line you fall on, the movie isn't about, your politics. It's about protecting these children who are in dangerous situations, and that we should protect them. I don't care if I think most people, whether you be, no matter what side of the line you fall on, should agree with that message.
Yes, 100%. And this is also
Everybody's got kids, or family with kids, or
yes.
friends with kids.
Yes, this is not a political statement. They're not even showing one side or the other. This is about saving kids. But because people of conservative values like it, and like the point of this message, this could be a movie that especially in America, that we could all rally around and be like, yes. Although we disagree so much, this is a message that's important to us. Apparently not.
I saw a few similar articles come out about Top Gun Maverick, where it was like, this is clearly a conservative pro-war kind of. It's like, no, it's just a movie. This is just a movie of, that everybody can love and enjoy. Just because it so happens to be about the military and about these characters that everybody likes. It's so weird that if conservatives like something,
it's all of a sudden QAnon likes it.
Yeah, it's like QAnon. I don't know
like
why.
Capitol stormers like it.
Right. Yeah. You supported January 6th.
Right. If you like this movie, you're a Capitol stormer.
Oh.
So here's another thing. Sound of Freedom has a pay it forward scheme. Now, full disclosure, I have a bias. I've done the pay it forward scheme for The Chosen. And I have. I've participated. So what they're basically saying is that they have a pay it forward for this movie because this is what Angel Studios does. They're changing the industry. They're trying new things. They basically say at the end of the movie, we want as many people to see this movie as possible. We're so glad you're here and you watched it. If you think this is a movie that deserves more attention, would you be willing to pay for someone's ticket? You don't have to.
Yeah, that's not a scheme.
You don't have to. They call it a scheme. The reason why is because Angel Studios is getting success, and Disney and all these people that are trying to get, the big box office hits, they're relying on people's selfishness to watch a movie to make their money, whereas they are tapping into people's goodness and saying, hey, do you think this is an important movie that people should see? Some people won't see it because of the ticket price. Would you be willing to buy someone's ticket?
Right? But we had a similar issue with a lot of people on the internet, and I'm generalizing that, not a lot of people, some wackos on the internet who were like, you ought to pay for a black person's ticket to go watch the second Wakanda movie.
Right, because that's necessary for life and godliness.
It's like, isn't that a pay it forward scheme?
It is, but that's a pay it forward scheme they're into, right?
Right.
That's ridiculous.
And I honestly, I don't have a problem with that. If you feel like you want to pay for somebody's ticket for
have a good movie night
for any movie for anybody, you
go
should
for
be
it.
And if that's for a cause, or if that's because you want the movie to make more money, then it's your discretion. What people do with their money is at their own discretion.
Right. Believe it or not, we actually have been doing pay it forward schemes in different avenues. Gift cards to movie theaters are a pay it forward scheme.
Right.
Which I got one. I watched Oppenheimer. No, I watched Mission Impossible 2 with a pay it forward gift card scheme.
Yeah.
And the movie's not necessarily asking you to donate to this cause. They're just asking you to donate to the movie so that it can make money so that they can donate to the cause.
Right.
If you like the movie. And if you don't, then you just bought a movie ticket.
Right.
Right?
And you just watched a movie or you
I
bought
don't
someone a
know.
ticket.
We have so many messages out in the world, protect trees,
Right.
stop big oil, protect, animals, and, protect people's rights.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything wrong with,
All right.
paying
You're
for
you're
protecting
right.
kids.
It's really because these studios like DC with The Flash, like
Mm,
Disney with, the Dial of Destiny, all of these failing movies that are in theaters right now are like, why is Sound of Freedom making so much money? We spent $200 million to make this movie. They only spent
mhm,
14 and they're making more money than us. So they're upset and they start doing things like, oh, well, okay. So they're asking people to buy 2 tickets. So they're just freaking scheming people, and that's how they make more money. That's their
Mm.
explanation. That's not good enough.
That's not
It,
good enough.
that's not good enough. Now, there's another one that's not included in this article, and I did do fact check. So last night, and the fact check, I didn't do the research and call it fact check. There's like
Yeah.
factcheck.com or whatever. I don't know. They do full articles based on popular controversies or popular statements that are
mhm,
made. So, did Disney, in fact, own the rights to this movie back in 2017,
Uh-huh.
2018,
And
shut
then
it down and said they don't want to release this movie? And Angel Studios basically waited, or some people waited until the rights became available for purchase and then grabbed it back from Disney.
yeah,
So, and it came back, yes, this is true. So basically, what happened is 20th Century Fox owned the rights to this movie. They're making the movie. All right.
Mhm.
Disney buys a big chunk of 20th Century Fox. We all remember that, right?
yes.
Yeah.
Um, that include the rights to this movie. Disney
Ah,
has the rights. They have the plans.
and they're sitting
I
on it.
and they didn't just sit on it. They said, "We will not release this movie."
Mhm,
Yeah.
And everyone's like, "Why?" 20th Century was about to release it. And they're like, "We're not gonna." So they sat on it for how many years? 5 years. And then
Until
now,
their contract ended, and
till their
then
contract for the rights for this ended, and then Angel
yeah.
Studios, and they had like an inside guy who's been monitoring the rights to this story, working with the guy that this is about. I can't ever remember his name,
Yeah, I
mhm.
thought
but
I thought the guy
it,
that
they've
this
been just waiting
gentleman that
for
it's
the rights
about,
to.
I
Right.
thought he went to Angel Studios and said, "Hey, the rights are about to end for this. Do you
Well, it's
want?"
someone who's been working with him, who's been keeping up with kind of like the legality stuff of
Mhm.
this story, because this is like the unsung injustice for the past 5 years that no one has known about, because no one knew if it would ever get released. And then as soon as Angel Studios uh, grabs it up, it's out in less than a year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
So
interesting, anybody who creates a movie like this, I mean, obviously, you're probably not watching this video, but if you are, I think the lesson here is don't give this to a big studio. Like
It's
no,
20th Century or Disney or Universal or HBO, they don't care.
it's
hmm
That's the thing.
interesting
They
though.
don't care. They only care about money.
right.
I didn't hear anything. We're not following Angel Studios that close, but like I didn't
Mm.
hear anything about this movie until it
I
was
didn't see
out.
any promotion. Yeah,
No, I
nothing.
saw nothing.
Nothing.
I
Which
literally I so the company I work for did an interview with Jim Caviezel, and that was the first I heard of it.
Mhm.
Literally 3 days before the movie's out.
wow.
Yeah.
I didn't see, yeah, no promotion, no commercials,
There was a
None.
trailer
no
that dropped on
There
trailer.
YouTube,
was,
but
Yeah,
but
no one was paying
but no,
attention
I
to it.
didn't
no.
watch it. Nobody watched it, and then all of a sudden, people are talking about this movie. Why? Probably the big reason is because, some families went and saw the movie. Somebody was like, let's go see this Sound of Freedom movie.
Right.
Probably, to be honest, dads love the word freedom.
They also love American, like American Sniper.
Yeah.
America. Yeah.
A lot of dads were disappointed by American Horror Story.
Right.
Probably, they thought it was going to be a patriotic horror film.
And so, that's probably what happened is families went and watched this, and it just word of mouth, I guess.
Yeah.
Right. And also kudos to a lot of the people's faces who've been marketing this. Jim Caviezel has been on so many interviews on YouTube, right?
Yeah.
On the online space. They have made the rounds to market this film in the same way that The Chosen does. It's because Angel Studios knows no one is here to help us. No one's here. We don't have the money to just run ads nonstop all day long. We can only invest into what we've been given. So we just have to make the rounds. We have to go like a comedian promoting his new special, right? Just goes on everyone's podcast, all the comedian podcasts. And then that's what they do for these movies, man. They show up on tons of different people's shows and just talk about it. One thing that hasn't happened that I'm very surprised by is Jim Caviezel hasn't gone on Joe Rogan yet. I'm very surprised by that.
Yeah, that is
now.
True.
Hold on. You know what? 1 second. You guys talk. I need to do a quick. I want to see if the guy that this story's about has ever been on Joe Rogan in the past.
It definitely sounds like something that he would do.
Yeah.
Oh, he's done this before, just not with these guys, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he probably just, because it's been so secret, people not talking about it, he didn't know, and they just haven't had the opportunity because nothing has really come available. But it'd be interesting if soon that happens. But I don't know. He's kind of busy with other things right now, with like his club and everything.
Right. And so he's talked about Tim Ballard on the podcast, but he has not had him on yet. But there's a lot of articles that are saying he's probably going to go on soon. And that tracks Joe Rogan. It would not surprise me if probably next week or the week after he shows up on Joe Rogan, honestly.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
That would not surprise me at all. So yeah, I mean, a lot of crazy controversy around, honestly, a film that we really need right now.
Here's my advice. Here's my advice to anybody thinking about seeing this and looking at the controversy and maybe letting it sway you one way or another. I think the best way to make the decision on this is ignore everybody else. Left, right, whatever your political affiliation.
Us, maybe.
And maybe even us, and check out the movie.
Yeah. You should definitely
watch the movie.
Find your opinion for yourself.
Right.
Definitely.
Go check it out. Go see what's going on.
Definitely.
See if you like it. If you don't like it, you don't like it.
Right. So before we move on, I want to acknowledge, thank you, Cynthia.
Yes.
Cynthia, for being a Patreon supporter. She gets a shout out because she is a week after week, month after month, loyal supporter of our Patreon.
Yeah.
We have all kinds of content. We have these podcasts out a week early. If you ever look at our channel and be like, seems kind of like they're a week behind the trending news.
A little bit.
It is because we are on the ball over on Patreon, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
We get this out a whole week early on Patreon. So if you want to see us comment on things more regularly, that's more trending, that's more current, well, you got to go over to Patreon. Otherwise, you're behind. You're behind. That's what you say. So thank you for Cynthia for being a supporter of us over there. And we look forward to continuing to entertain and Cynthia, we look forward to continue entertaining her specifically. So before I go to the next topic, I wanted to, it's kind of like leads into did you guys have anything you wanted to dive into or thoughts before I go into the next bit? Because it's gonna overtake the conversation, I feel like.
No, just
I mean, not
no.
specifically. I mean, unless we're padding for time here. Are we
No,
padding
we're
for
not
time?
padding for time.
Do we need stories to pad for time?
I mean, I love hearing stories.
I got my butt pinched.
You got your butt. That's right. Now hold up. Did you tell that on anything we recorded recently?
I don't think so. I think I told you off camera.
Do you want to share that story?
It was just a strange interaction.
Apparently, this has been on both of Wyatt's mind because
you need to tweet out hashtag me
3
too.
or 4 times.
Yeah, it felt like a Me Too moment. No, it was an interesting situation where you kind of have to. It's a judgment call,
right?
Based on, like a visual scan, where, I got my ass pinched. It wasn't really my ass; it was more of my upper leg. It was more of my upper leg.
I don't mean to laugh at your pain.
Well, it was more bizarre, which is kind of why it's on my mind. And so the guy like pinched me and screamed like "whoa," right? To scare me.
Yeah,
right, to scare me, like your dad might do to you, sneaking up behind you.
Right.
I thought it was one of my coworkers.
You thought it was a prank.
Yeah, which would have been funny. And it wasn't. It was some rando
stranger,
right?
Stranger danger.
And I looked at him real closely for a second, and I was like, I don't recognize this guy. But I read I looked at him. I recognized his age, his demeanor, his body language, and it was very much something. He was a dad. Yeah. It was a dad thing he did with no ill intention, right?
It's kind of funny, but maybe you were cutting his grass, so maybe he thought like, oh, we there's familiarity because of the grass. He's touching my grass,
right?
And I own it, so
right. It felt like
he's touching my grass. I can touch his ass.
It felt like something you would do with your coworker, with your family, or with your dad. And I would have freaked out if his body language and his face and his laughter wasn't so innocent, and he didn't remind me of my dad doing something. So what you're saying,
he didn't give you one of these?
No, there was nothing sexual behind it. And perhaps he thought I was somebody else, and when he realized that I wasn't, he just rolled with it.
Maybe.
Imagine what he was thinking if that's the case.
If that's the case, he's like, man, my
life's over.
Butt. Right.
All he has to do is tweet this, and I'm done.
Yeah. Yeah, but it was funny. It was more funny to me than anything else.
It sounds jarring, in my opinion.
And it was jarring. It was like that was a weird thing that just happened. That in different circumstances, if it were your dad, or if it were another friend's dad, or any other dad that I know, it wouldn't have been jarring at all.
Mm-hmm.
But simply because it was a dad I don't know, who did a very dad thing, is why it lingers in the front of my mind.
Man. And, that happened. And I guess the moral of the story would be, watch out for your butts.
Watch out. Hold on to your butts.
Hold on to your butts.
The wise words of Samuel Jackson.
Sam Jackson. Speaking of Sam Jackson, why are movies so dark lately?
They are dark.
No, you can't.
Look, all right, for audio listeners, I'm talking about they're filmed darkly. I'm not talking about the casting. So,
man, you're gonna get us canceled for that.
Back off, Joshua. Back off. It was a good joke.
It was a very solid joke. That was it was very well executed.
Thank you. So why are films shot so dark these days? Why is the cinematography so underlit? Why does it feel like you have to squint to see everything? Do you guys experience this phenomenon?
Yes, but
in your media today?
I want to go off the path and then come back to the path real quick.
All right, well make it a short path.
It's in the same vein. So it's on the same path, just, you don't know if it's a path, whatever. Instagram, Peter McKinnon, he has done this for a long time with his photos and with his videos being very dark, saturated, bringing the contrast up and everything. And he almost set this, because of Peter McKinnon, there's been this wave of filmmakers through YouTube or through Instagram that have started doing this. And it kind of follows right around the same vein with this, with like movies and film. It kind of is having the same look. Don't you agree?
I think you can get.
It's just not
I think what the trend is that you can get a lot of interesting contrast and things with darker environments where you have the opportunity to use lighting the way that you want to use lighting, exactly how you want to use the lighting, and that's why Peter's stuff looks good, is because he can manipulate the lighting however he wants.
Because of him, though, people have done
it.
People are doing it now.
Well, especially in the YouTube game of people who are just getting into it and or have maybe been into it for a long time and are figuring out that, if I make this darker, I can make it more concentrated. I can control my lighting better. Whereas, in TV and movies, I think a lot of people have understood this. And that's why for a lot of years, we've had these, every once in a while you get a darker movie, like, what's the one? Seven?
Yes.
Seven's a darker movie. And, we've gotten a lot of these over the years where it's like, how do we control the lighting essentially? And they're usually dramatic movies.
Yeah. So I really have 4 main reasons that's kind of publicly general consensus, as well as, I threw one in there because I kind of, little insider baseball, I kind of know the industry a little bit. All right.
Just
a little bit based on my personal experience. And I also kind of know what's going on somewhat. So I would say the 4, we can dive into each of these. The 4 big reasons is film versus digital. All right. Dynamic range in cameras, lack of color grading, whether by laziness, creative choice, or just incompetence, I guess. And then more minimal lighting because of cameras. So let's dive into each of those. First, film versus digital. And in order to really understand this, I want to pull up a waveform monitor. All right.
Okay, nerd.
I'm not nerdy. All right. So the basic understanding of a waveform monitor, okay, is you have 0 at the bottom and you have 100 at the top. That makes sense? Would you stop? We have to get through this so we can understand it clearly.
Real quickly. Help.
100 is the brightest an image is before it just goes white, before it just peaks out, it's lost, right? 0 is the darkest an image is before the shadows are just lost. It's just black, all right? So when you have a waveform monitor, a solid waveform monitor should be within 0 and 100, all right? If it's past that, like if it's farther up higher than 100 or below 0, then your whites and blacks are blown out. There's no image, there's no information there, all right? Shadows and highlights. So this waveform monitor is actually from a shot from the Godfather, okay? So if you notice those like 4, you can see it. It's built like the same way you look at an image, it shows where the light is, right? So you can see as the lights go up, the green waveform signal goes up. Those 4 dots at the top, those are the lights behind his head.
Yeah, it's a backlight.
And then you have his skin tone kind of landing in the middle with multiple shadows in there. And then the things around him kind of dip into shadow, so they reach down to 0, right? When you understand this, this helps you also understand the choices creatively behind when someone's filming something on set, because they also are looking at a waveform monitor. They are trying to see how much exposure we have and specifics about cameras. So with this knowledge of, highlights and shadows, digital and film are opposite to each other. Would you believe that?
Yeah.
So when you are filming with film, people tend to overexpose because film can retain highlights and bring them back. So if you go to color film, if you shot too bright, you can bring it down, and the highlights, it protects them more. So it doesn't reach beyond 100 and they're just completely blown out. However, with film, you cannot protect shadows. So once you drop something into shadow, like they did here with with The Godfather, that information is lost for the most part. When something hits 0 when you're filming it, can't pull that back. All right, it's not enough data inside film. Digital, it's opposite. If you blow something out, you lost it. If it's too white, too bright, you lost it.
It's gone.
However, it retains informations in shadows a lot.
So you can brighten it up.
You can brighten it up. And so here is the real decision making. I look at, examples of Greg Fraser, where he was doing the Batman. Everything's very, and even with The Godfather here. What is my other example? Do I have another example? Oh, I also wanted to explain this. But I'll get to that.
Versus color grading.
Flat versus color. I'll get to that in a second. And it's kind of what Wyatt was touching on earlier. Choosing pockets of light instead of these sitcoms or whatever, where it's just like bunch of colors, everything's bright, everything's there, right? In a film, you have highlights and shadows, and how are you using lighting and different levels of lighting to motivate what's important in the frame, right? To motivate where your eyes need to go. That whole section next to, the dawn there on this image, that's not necessary, and it's actually more interesting to create this big, dark, negative space next to him. So it's like really bringing attention to where you need to be looking, and like there's multiple pockets of shadows and lights. So that's kind of like with Greg Fraser shooting the Batman, same concept. Pockets, like revealing Batman with a little pop of light on his shoulder, and everything else is really dark. So but to understand how they film stuff digitally is log footage. It is flat versus expanded. So like this is a shot. The waveform monitor for this looks like this. All right.
Wow.
So when you shoot in camera, so it should be on the left side, with digital cameras, you can crush the signal to protect the shadows and highlights. That allows you to expand it in color grading and not lose that information. You have more control over it, right? So that's kind of like what they did here. So with all this information, why do movies shoot so dark today? If we analyze all that, what do you think creatively they're choosing? Here's something from Hitchcock.
I think
his highlights are there and his shadows are gone.
So I think there is a dramatic thing with shadows that people are doing, where I think they're using shadows and darkness to emphasize specific things, maybe emotions or something.
Right.
And that's kind of how they've done it. We were talking about this last night, where there's things you can do. I don't remember exactly the specific thing, but you can do things easy, and then you can do things that are slightly harder.
Yeah.
And it doesn't bring the product to make it better. But there is kind of this romantic element to doing it the harder way, and to kind of
we were talking about pipes versus cigars. So it's end product versus
I specifically said rolling a cigarette. There's something romantic about taking the time to roll that cigarette, and it just gives character to what you're smoking. We were watching something, and I think I know we were watching a Western, Quigley Down Under, and the guy was rolling
rolling his cigarettes.
Yeah, and so we were talking about that, and I said, rolling it. There's something to that other than just buying the actual thing. So bring it back to the film.
You said the like it's the difference between cigars and a pipe, where you'd rather smoke a cigar over a pipe because with the pipe you got to carry around all the stuff, you've got to pack the pipe, and for some people it's about that habit of getting out the tin, packing the pipe. It's which exactly what you're saying is those extra steps aren't necessary because we have cigars.
Yes.
Right? Which lasts as long as a pipe, if not longer. You don't have to go through the extra steps of packing the pipe, keeping the pipe lit
as you just clip it and light it.
Yeah. You just, it's go. It's the same with cigarettes, of smoking a cigarette versus rolling one up, and the process isn't necessary anymore, but clearly people like that process, especially in movies.
And even like Oppenheimer, Christopher Nolan, how he used film to do the thing when he didn't have to.
He didn't have to. He's rolling his own cigarettes here.
Yes.
Well, he also says that it is truly the highest definition possible in in history to see an image, right? And that's true. If you blow Oppenheimer up on a humongous screen, it's going to look better than if you blew up onto a humongous screen of something that was shot digitally. Like, it just will.
But I mean, we have cameras that honestly
can shoot 10K
They do the same thing without 11 miles of footage.
Yeah.
You're right.
They do basically the same thing.
You can't project a 12. You can, but theaters do not regularly have the ability to project a 12K image onto a screen, right? Because that takes a lot of power. But they can project a 70 millimeter piece of film.
Mm-hmm.
They can,
but I don't think your average moviegoer isn't thinking about that. Isn't necessarily thinking about that resolution, because resolution is so high, it's so great nowadays that he's packing his own pipe here.
Yes.
Where the process probably is longer, and the end result is only maybe slightly better.
I don't think he's packing his own pipe here.
Look, we gotta get off of this, because this isn't like the main reason. Because
we also have examples color grading. Yeah, we're talking about lighting, color grading.
We also have examples like Seven that you brought up that is on film and still dark, right?
Yes,
it's really the choice of how bright do you want your highlights to be, and how dark do you want your shadows to be?
I noticed in Oppenheimer where there were a lot of stuff that was very clear, very nice, very beautiful. Very purposefully, especially a lot of the black and white stuff, which you would think, going back in history, black and white, they used shadows a lot to make a point, to make.
That's why I pulled up a shot of Hitchcock here. One of these
to really emphasize certain emotions and actions. Whereas in Oppenheimer, the black and white, they don't use shadows that much unless they're in a car. Everything else is super bright, super crisp, super clear. But there are moments where Oppenheimer's talking to somebody and he's just like, his face almost is entirely dark.
In shadow.
Where I want to say it's him and Matt Damon, or him and his friend that he meets at the beginning of the movie, where they're just sitting, they're talking, they're leaning in, and their faces are completely black. You can't see their emotions. You can it's almost barely even like silhouette acting,
right?
Because you can still see part of their face, and you're like, is this bad? Is this bad lighting? But no, it's purposeful.
It's purposeful, and if if you throw out all the other things that, like Hoyt van Hoytema had behind lighting his scene that way, you also just get to the core reason was this is a timepiece. We want the lighting to look the way it would in this room if these two guys are sitting in this position.
Yeah.
So with
That's how
all that
the
said,
lighting felt in Oppenheimer.
Whether it comes to film, whether it comes to digital, the hard thing about film is that you can't really measure on the field with a waveform monitor, like we just looked at, but you can now with digital. You also have to consider, not that they weren't doing this back in the day, but you also have to consider that, what is this? One of the most egregious examples of dark film is, the right here. So the Battle at Winterfell that everyone talks about. If you're watching the Battle of Winterfell on a relatively large, like you guys' 70-inch flat screen, whatever you got.
70-inch
65-inch flat screen. It's nighttime. There's no lights on in the house. I'd be willing to bet that episode looks pretty good. You know what I mean?
Be looking good.
Yeah, with all the lights out on that TV, right. It would probably look really good.
And here's the thing. They edit it accordingly. They edit it in an editing suite that's dark, and
that's not how you should watch that movie. That's not how you should watch anything.
You should watch it on your phone.
You shouldn't have to turn out all of your lights and put it on a very large screen to be able to watch something.
Well, you also have to think
that's egregious.
Well, you compensate for both.
For both. Look, if you're in a dark room, you can still see what's happening on your phone. And I'm not a big hater on this episode, because if you create an environment where you can see the image, you don't have a big old window reflecting on your screen or something like that, you can see all the action. You can see it. It's clear. The point of that episode is it's dark out here, and it's ominous, and it's chaotic, and it's dangerous. The darkness puts you in that frame of mind that the actors are feeling. I mean, when those Dothraki ride out into the field and disappear, you're meant to notice that they disappear.
But we're not just talking about different shades of shadows and dark and light. We're talking about this image I'm looking at right now that you have pulled up. All looks the same color to me.
Oh yeah, and you got the warm lights.
There were too many instances in hallways and in rooms and down in the crypt and moments like that just all the colors blend together. That's bad, especially if you're filming something dark. If all the colors are blending together into sort of a darkish gray, that's not what people want to watch.
All right. Well, talking of blending things together, let's use an example of film in a Steven Spielberg movie of how they used to do Dark Knight scenes, what he's done. Yeah. If you look at this, you see shadows on the ground of the car, which means you have it means they have a big freaking light.
Big light.
Big light to light the whole scene.
To make it almost feel like
it's almost like day for night, but it's controlled light. You don't have to deal with the sun.
This is also we're in Jurassic Park, where there might be big floodlights at the top of those gates.
Exactly. So it's contextual, but you see this is a really dark scene. Yeah. But everything color wise does blend into each other, like you're saying. But you still see the dinosaur. You still see all the details, and it's a part of it is because it's Steven's style. He doesn't want to miss anything in darkness. He set up this elaborate scene. He wants to see everything, and he's shooting on film, so you don't want to underexpose too much, right? Because you'll lose it if you underexpose too much. So there's a lot of thoughts behind this, but then you go to the first picture I brought up with Keira Knightley on the Boston Strangler. Let me go back to that one. So, and we see this a lot. We saw it in Ozarks. We see it in a lot of Greg Fraser's work. The Creator that's coming out. I did a video on that. That the motivation behind a lot of this kind of lighting is two things. Modern digital cameras, their ISO capabilities. If you don't know what that means, it's basically the sensitivity the camera, the lens, or not the lens, the sensor has to light is is really powerful. Now, the problem with it is traditionally, if you bump up the ISO too high, like to 1,000 or 2,000, you start seeing grain. You start seeing noise in the shadows, right? Their cameras are getting so good that you can bump your ISO up really high. Like we're talking 20,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
14,000, 10,000. And it's not introducing a lot of noise. Filmmakers like Greg Fraser like this because there's also a big movement where they want to introduce a little bit of light. They don't want all these big Steven Spielberg lighting setups. You know what I mean? You got to light the whole scene with these big, huge RE floodlights.
Yeah.
What they want is minimal. They literally want to have a single light that is not even shooting at Keira Knightley right here. They want it bouncing off of a white card, and a little bit of light is coming back and hitting her in the face. A little bit. With a regular camera, you can't see that. But with these new cameras, these RE cameras, these like the video I did, the Sony camera, the Sony FX3, you can bump it up and it can see so much light in a really dark environment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you can paint your image in a new way that hasn't been done before. So everything that, like when you're watching it on your phone or your iPad or during the day on your TV, it feels dark. But if you turn off the lights, you can start to see the artist's work. And that's why I don't hate on the Battle of Winterfell episode, because if you pay attention, if you go through the effort, you start to see the artist's work. If you're just casually watching, then yeah, you're going to have problems. But you can see the artist's work.
I agree with extra steps. Maybe one. I agree with maybe doing some things to be able to truly appreciate what the artist is doing. You know, big IMAX screen to watch Oppenheimer, or a big screen or something with surround sound and everything, or maybe a darker room to watch something. But again, we're bringing it back. I don't want to roll my own cigarettes.
Yeah.
Right? I want to be able to sit down, put something on the TV, and be able to see what I'm watching.
Yeah, bro. You want everything to look like King of the Hill.
No, I don't. I'm okay with closing the blinds so that the glare isn't hitting my TV.
Right.
But I think I think a normally lit living room should be able to perfectly display whatever you're watching.
Yeah.
I don't want and I don't want to sit down. I don't know. Nobody else has seen this movie except me. Alien versus Predator Requiem is perhaps the most egregious example of lighting ever in a movie. The movie is so dark. You can barely see what's happening. And there's some really, really cool stuff. It's a terrible movie, but there's some really cool Predator alien stuff in that movie. And it is the last scene is absolutely one of the most egregious things because it's happening outside. I want to say there's rain, and you can barely see the monsters, and a lot of the monsters are practical effects, which is really cool.
Yeah. All right, I got a question then. When you do look at someone's work like the Batman, that is very low lit, extremely low lit. Right? You put that on a waveform monitor, everything, even the highlights, are down in like the 40s. You know what I mean? So it's like, but do you appreciate that?
You can watch that. You can watch that on a TV with normal lighting.
Sort of. You're gonna miss a lot. You're gonna miss.
You're not.
Lot.
I don't think you're not missing a lot because
the lighting is very delicate in the Batman.
Because your silhouettes are purposeful. Batman's supposed to be very silhouetted, where there's maybe only light cast on his jaw or the side of his head or things like that. That's very purposeful, and it doesn't feel too dark.
I think when I see it, it feels dark in the same way that when I watch Seven, it feels dark. And to me, when I see stuff, like this movie, The Boston Strangler, or I see episodes like the Battle at Winterfell, it doesn't offend me the way. And maybe it's because I look at it and I imagine what it would be like color grading, in an editing suite, and be like, this is an appropriate choice. Because I mean, even on shows that are more indie, like The Chosen, there's a lot of dark scenes on The Chosen, and they're trying to get that natural light look, right? But there's a lot of dark scenes,
But
and
you
so
notice you notice when people make an effort for you to see the movie, like Nope. They did a lot of day for night
Yes.
filming, but made a big effort to make sure that you can see everything that's happening out in that desert because they wanted to make it look like it's natural moonlight, and it
Yeah.
works so well. You
Yes,
can
they did a good
see
job
everything
with
that's
that.
happening, and it's awesome. I
yeah.
appreciate that more for that artistry of making sure that the viewer can see what's happening over trying to make something artistic
Well,
that
look,
in the end the viewer can't watch unless they're
they're in the right
unless they're
environment.
in the right environment.
Now, I'll be honest, I'm opposite, man. It's
We're
not
not
that I don't
frogs. We're
appreciate
not
no's.
amphibians. We don't have to be in the right environment
Look,
to
So I think
breathe.
let me cut the difference and say it depends on what you're watching, and there's a time and place for both. There's a
there
time and
is.
place
So
for
why are
what
we
Wyatt
so
Maybe
wants.
there is, and
egregious?
There's a
maybe,
time and
but
place for
I'm
what
saying
Joseph
I
wants.
would. There's pros and cons to the effort that you're putting in to for your viewers, right?
Yeah.
And I think maybe just me personally, I appreciate when they put the effort in to make sure I can see something.
Yeah.
Make sure that I'm seeing what I'm supposed to see.
Mhm.
Now, and you know what I appreciate is the willingness to go the extra mile to paint with light and colors and not just blanket statement for visual
Yeah.
ability. Now,
But
that's what
we
Nope
but
does. That's what
but
Nope
we
is. There's no
it's
painting with light. It's literally just we want to see with action, we want to see what's going on, and we have this CG monster we have to put in the sky.
Yeah, but the
So,
thing with Nope is that it's in an open, bright environment.
yeah, you
Whereas
can't paint with night with
we do have examples of painting with light. With Pinocchio, is very it's the lighting is very, very intentional, and you can still see everything that's happening. My issue is scenes like the Battle of Winterfell. The darkness bleeds together. The darkness cannot bleed together for
Yeah.
me. There
Okay.
has to be silhouettes with very, very intentional lighting. If it's
Okay.
going to be dark, there needs to be more intentional lighting than what's going on here in
All
this
right.
picture specifically.
And it looks like the big light source for this is the backlight.
Mhm.
I'm okay with his face being darker because we know who it is.
And we know what the facial expression he's making
If we know
clearly.
if his face, the dark side of his face was even darker and we couldn't see his facial features, but
You're
the
cool with
other
that?
side, the bright side
Was
was
a
a
little
little bit
brighter?
brighter on the side of his head, that's more interesting
Mhm.
than
Hey,
all of it just
perhaps.
being gray dark altogether.
And you know, to answer this question, why are things shot so darkly nowadays? It's not that they are. It's just that there is like a new approach and there are new styles that are
There's
coming
new
onto the
methods,
scene. New
definitely.
methods with the technology,
I mean,
but
I watched some behind the scenes for Nope, and the technology is incredible what they're
mhm.
doing and what we have the ability to do.
Yeah,
I
with cameras, with lighting, with the
Yeah.
amount of lights, with how digital versus film
Mhm.
interacts with your image. Um, yeah, a lot of times, like Hitchcock used his highlights were really bright at the top, like close to
Mhm.
100, and his shadows were close to 0, right?
Very dark. Yeah,
So
because he
there
was
wasn't
using a lot of
utilizing
storytelling with yeah,
they weren't
that's
utilizing the
cool.
whole spectrum. So
I'm looking forward to what we see more with this kinda stuff. I think we get
absolutely.
a glimpse of some interesting stuff happening in the art world with, like, Pinocchio and stuff, but I'm more interested to see, uh I love that kind of film noir look of,
Like
you know,
Nightmare Alley.
a thin yeah, like a thin line on somebody's face, and then the rest is silhouette.
Mhm.
Uh, man, it's cool to me, and I wanna see more of that.
Um,
Yeah.
there is a genre that does have a lot of that. Um, and some that doesn't. Some of it is more just in your face. But
Mhm.
you know, with the horror movie genre, there are a ton of examples of interesting lighting. And you guys
Mhm.
have seen,
dark lighting.
warning, creepy image about to pop up.
Okay, yeah, so you viewers at home, we're throwing up a creepy image here.
All right. So, a new Exorcist Believer trailer is dropped
Mhm.
this week. So we're doing another one.
Yeah.
We're doing another one, right? And the lighting in these, I mean, horror movies rely a lot on lighting.
Mhm.
But the
Yes, they
interesting thing
do.
that I've seen a few people asking, and some thoughts that we probably have unique opinions on, a generalistic opinion on, kind of like what a cultural consensus is on. Um, do horror movies impact you in a negative way? Specifically, like, can horror movies cause trauma? Especially since we have like a lot of a lot of mental illness and mental health is a big part of today's world.
Mm.
So,
I
like
think
the
so.
entertainment genre. So you say right off the bat without
I
any
think so.
I
explanation, it
think
Yeah.
can
so.
cause trauma.
Yeah, I
Now,
would
Yeah,
agree.
I was actually talking to a friend the other day, and he said that he had an issue watching Guardians of the Galaxy, the third
What?
Guardians of the Galaxy,
why is that?
because of the body horror in the movie
Mm.
with the animals and the creatures, because he saw a commercial when he was younger,
Mm,
not that young, but when he was younger, like in early high school, he saw a commercial of the human centipede,
right.
and
Whew.
he
I've
said
never
it
seen that, and I'm
totally.
so
I've
happy.
never seen it. He said he's never seen it. He's only seen the trailer, and it completely threw him off, and he
Ugh.
cannot handle the body horror.
Yeah. All right. So to springboard off of that point, it's interesting because there is a cultural consensus around this issue when it comes to younger ages.
Mm.
From what I could find, the only real research that was done was actually by it was kind of like a Presbyterian foundation that
Mhm.
did a research study on horror movies' psychological impact. And what they found was the only age group, according to their study, is 1 to 3 year olds. Based on
That can't be true.
if they
No.
see
That's
something,
wrong. It's
if
absolutely
well,
wrong.
this is what their findings were. So
Well,
let me
they're
explain the
wrong.
findings. It could be they could be wrong, but they did
Wrong.
a research study, and
Fake
this was the
news.
findings. So they could experience for children that are impressionable, it can have lasting effects into the future where it's actually creating real trauma in
Mhm.
a person's brain. Outside of that, there is no examples that have any research behind it that horror movies cause trauma. They did say that environment has a lot to do with it. So, if you are
That I
with a
would agree.
younger kid,
That I would
if you have
agree.
a younger kid like 6 years old and they're watching something scary, right? If you if you create an environment where it's meant to be scary, that can linger with them. However,
Now
if you are like if you as a parent or a sibling like laugh at the movie and make jokes
mhm.
or like create a looser, like not so serious vibe around the movie, all of a sudden it creates these pathways that's like reminds you this is not real, reminds you that this is meant for the adrenaline rush, and reminds you that this is that this does not have to be something that like it stays with you,
I
right?
think we also need to clarify that the definition of trauma here is legitimate trauma,
Yeah,
like
legitimate
where
trauma.
you have issue functioning in real life because of something that you saw.
Yes.
I think it's much harder to do that with a horror movie than it is with something like um like real trauma, like watching
Yes.
somebody die or
Yeah.
things that, because trauma is an immune response
Mhm.
to um overexerting your fight or flight, and
Yes.
that's why it has lasting health issues with like people who served in the military, is
Mhm.
because their fight or flight was on for so long,
Yeah.
which is something that shouldn't be on all the time,
Right.
that it created an immune response within their body to try to protect them. And as it continued to produce that immune response. That's why they have lasting issues, physiologically and mentally, is because of an immune response happening in their body that shouldn't have been happening over and over and over.
Right.
And for that to happen with like a movie or something, I think it's very difficult. But I think if we lessen our definition of trauma, as in something that affects you, like with my buddy who has a trouble looking at the body horror in Guardians of the Galaxy. I think a lot of people experience something like that. I think I watched a movie once. I want to say I was in high school, and I don't remember the movie at all.
You just remember one scene?
No, I don't remember it at all. I can't even remember what the name of the movie is called, because whatever happened in the movie at the end was so like egregiously horrifying. I blocked it out.
Interesting. So you were at a younger age, right?
Yeah, I was maybe 14 or 15, and I didn't realize. I went into the movie having one perception of what it was going to be, but then by the end, it was one of those ones that kind of like flip the tables on you.
Right.
Whatever happened in the movie was so dark.
You didn't want to remember it.
I didn't want to remember it, so I just blocked it out. Like it's almost like trying to remember a dream that you can't remember.
Right. Yeah. Right. Now,
or that you don't want to remember, so you don't think about it.
There are based on other studies around viewing habits for horror movies. I'll throw these out there, and then I'll stop with the statistics, and we can just discuss, because I also want to get into like maybe faith-based spiritual reasons around these. But the rest of the statistics is like there's like two negatives and a positive that have been brought up. So first negative is if the main physical reaction that horror movies are proven to react, it's not fight or flight like you were mentioning. For viewing horror movies, it's rather an adrenaline boost in your system. That is fun because people find it enjoyable. You get like the horror movie high, However, if you watch a lot of horror movies at night, adrenaline is proven to cause you not to be able to sleep, because it's an adrenaline chemical in your body. If you do that often, like 3 or 4 horror movies a week, and you can't sleep those nights, you will bring on a whole host of other physical and mental issues because of the lack of sleep.
Because again, it's an immune response. Your adrenaline is meant to help you in a quick situation, or in a situation where you need it, and it's not supposed to be on consistently.
Yes. So the other issue is people with constant anxiety. The thrill or the anxious feelings of a horror movie can trigger and just compound people's anxiety. So if you deal with a lot of anxiety, just kind of like nervous energy anxiety, then horror movies are not recommended, because that's going to elevate those feelings, and you're just going to make it worse.
There's a reason that I prefer to watch a thrilling movie. I don't go in for horror like The Exorcist stuff. That doesn't do it for me. It just, I don't care for like supernatural spiritual stuff like demons, because they rarely have rules.
Right.
And they'll always break the rules. Demons and spirits always break the rules every single time.
Yes.
But I like going in for a horror movie, like A Quiet Place or something.
Or Alien.
Or Alien every once in a while, because it's enjoyable to get that adrenaline scare,
the horror movie high.
Thrill, the horror movie high every once in a while.
Now, the other positive effect that they said is that for people trying to work on exposure therapy, believe it or not, past traumas, horror movies have been used to help people slowly gradually. So you guys familiar with exposure therapy? It's
I know.
People that cannot do anything, like they can't, like they're afraid of elevators, right?
Yeah.
A therapist will have them like through a series of processes,
Mhm.
get closer to the elevator, hit the elevator button, step into the elevator and then come back out. You're exposing yourself to
Mhm.
rid
The thing
yourself
you
of this
fear,
irrational
yeah.
fear. People have used horror movies actually during exposure therapy, and it has helped some people. So
Very interesting.
that's one positive to the horror movie genre. But all that to say, let's go ahead and dive into our personal opinions around horror movies, like as individuals, I think.
Well, really quick, I wanna harken back to you said that a lot of people, when watching a horror movie or something scary with somebody would make light of it. I used to do this all the time when watching something scary or
Mhm.
something like that with my siblings,
Yes.
my younger siblings, like my sisters especially,
Right.
Yeah.
or William, to make them,
Not afraid.
not afraid. I remember watching, Lord of the Rings, and this
Mhm.
is I was older, and so my sisters were older, but I do remember, like, I didn't want the kind of, um, the unnervingness of
Yeah.
Gollum to, like, stick in their
Oh,
heads.
yeah.
So I purposefully was like, he's really kind of pathetic and, you know, a sad character, isn't he? And they would be like, "Yeah, he really is. It
So
really is kinda sad."
Such a
being nervous every time he's on
Instead, yeah,
screen.
instead of making light or making fun, I was making them feel sympathy for him.
That's
Right,
funny.
So
That's
that
such a
when
big
they would
brother
see him,
response.
yeah,
that's the
when they would
Gandalf move.
right, when
Yeah.
they would
Right.
see him, they would feel
Pity.
sympathy and pity and not scary.
Yeah, dude, that's the point of the character, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Things for me personally, I don't things don't scare me when I'm watching it on film, but I personally stay away from it because it's not for me. No. No, it's not for me. I don't
Now,
like the being scared thing.
you
It's
don't like the adrenaline. You don't
no.
maybe you're a little anxious yourself, and maybe you
Yeah.
don't like hyping up that anxiety more, you
See,
know?
my thing as a kid has always was always it was never spirits or demons or anything. It was always, you know, um I when I'm out in the woods at night or outside at night, I can't see in the dark, but there are things that can.
Yeah.
Yes,
You
cougars,
know? There's
bears,
right. I can't
reindeer,
see, but other things can see. It's like being in the ocean. It's like, there's big things out there that you can't see,
right?
harmful things that you can't see,
That's why
and
Jaws is so
that are
scary.
real. There are monsters out there.
Mhm.
That's why, for me, if it's a horror movie, give me a monster. I
Yeah.
want
You
some sort of
want that.
I need the monster. Yeah, that's my thing. Is
Nah.
like I
Nah.
need the monster because a lot of times uh it's really about how do we defeat this thing,
Nah.
Right.
No.
and because there's a reason we have legends like, like the Wendigo and things of,
The Bigfoot.
right, because
Babadook.
back in the day when people were, sitting around fires and
Mhm.
hunting and things, we knew what was out there. And so as humans, we're apex predators. What's scarier than animals is something with traits like us that
Yeah.
can
Mm,
hunt us.
Right. That's
So
right. What's scarier
it's
than a
that's why,
grizzly bear? Not
right,
much.
right. A grizzly bear is scary, but it's also, it's a four-legged beast that we've hunted and killed.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Whereas alien is scary because it's a thing that resembles humans. It's bipedal, and
It can eat you like a grizzly do.
yeah, and it's using intelligence, human-like intelligence and traps to hunt and kill.
Yeah.
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 Ooh.
So I've delved into a lot of the spiritual horror
Mm,
side of movies, The Conjuring. I haven't done The Exorcist. I don't think I'm going to.
mm,
I I've done more of the Conjuring universe stuff, and it's interesting because a lot of the Conjuring movies, all of them are the creators and the filmmakers are very it's very motivated by the Catholic Church.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it's kind of like a propaganda thing where they're like, "Oh, we want to up the awareness. If there's going to be horror movies about this stuff, we should up the awareness and kind of have a finger on, being the ones who dictate where it kind of lands." So,
Yeah.
but they've kind of gotten away from that. I mean, like, I think The Nun had a portal to hell in it.
What?
So it's not like they get away from just like the possession style stuff. And but there's definitely a level with those for me. The trailers are always much more scarier
than the movie. That is 100%
way more
true.
scarier, and way more unnerving, honestly. I think I haven't even watched the new Exorcist trailer because I know The Exorcist goes hard. All right, it goes kind of harder than the Conjuring universe.
Where were we that we saw it? Why wasn't it on Oppenheimer, or was it something else?
No, I think it was something else.
It
might have been Oppenheimer.
Well,
I didn't see it at Oppenheimer.
I missed it. We went to something and we saw
the trailer.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So I haven't watched it yet, just because I know that trailer goes harder than the movie actually does.
Look, the trailer really boils down to one element, and you can see it in the storytelling of the trailer. It's like, you guys remember the first Exorcist movie? It's kind of like that, but with 2 demon-possessed girls. There's 2 of them, and you're like,
no.
Because the first one, it's like, it's about one demon-possessed girl.
Yes.
This one, it's like, now it's 2.
Double trouble. Right. So, I honestly, it does become a predictable genre. I think with those kind of movies, the most thrilling and interesting part of them is not the climax at the end with the resolution. It's actually the scares. Like, it's basically the first act and then the second half of the first half of the second act.
Yeah.
Once you get towards the end of the film, it always falls apart in my mind, or just I lose interest. That's the same with like that movie, The Smile. I went ahead and watched that. Stupid ending, predictable ending. However, the first half of the movie was great.
It was a good jump scare.
It was great. It was awesome.
I'm more intrigued.
Really got me thrilled.
I'm more intrigued by like an interesting idea of a horror movie. Like A Quiet Place is an interesting idea. I went, not too long ago, I watched The Thing for the first time. And The Thing, while The Thing has a lot of really good horror elements and especially practical effects.
Yep.
More graphic.
It's very graphic practical effects, and it's impressive and very body horror, horrifying stuff. But the intriguing thing about the movie is who done it? Who is the thing? Who has been infected? It's why people loved the game Among Us when it came out, is because you ran around and you didn't know who the monster was. And when you were the monster, you got to run around and pretend to be just one of the crewmates. And it's a great idea. It's anytime a horror movie comes out with something interesting like that, I'm like, ooh, let me watch that.
Yeah. All right. It's kind of a mix between like a mystery and a horror.
Yeah.
So to put a bow on this, in your opinion, does horror movies, well, based on research, there are certain circumstances it can lead to trauma, especially in young kids. According to your opinion, what do you think?
I don't think it causes. I think obviously kids shouldn't watch it.
No,
because it's not going to cause trauma like PTSD, but it is going to cause.
That was another question, by the way. Do horror movies cause PTSD?
No. I think they could trigger PTSD potentially.
Yeah,
but no, I think they do cause certain lingering reactions.
Yeah,
there's certain things I'll see that I can't. That actually like trigger a response in me based off of something I've seen or something I watched that I have a hard time looking at.
Right. Joshua, what do you think?
I would agree. Certain things can be traumatic, especially if they resonate with something when you're younger, and you haven't kind of grasped the not reality of it as an adult. But yeah,
I had to
demon
do
possession movies are not for me. I like thrillers, but I don't like demon possession movies.
I had to do the, I guess, exposure therapy with movies of, especially violent ones, where I would watch the violent thing happen and be like, it's all effects.
Yeah,
it's all, and I started gaining an appreciation for like the practical effects of it. Like, how do you make something look like that? Especially with like Indiana Jones, where the guy's face melts. That's one of the most impressive deaths. I mean, one guy's head just explodes, but the one where the dude's face just melts off is one of the greatest effects in history.
Right. Well, with the head explosion, Michael Scott did that with Threat Level Midnight, right?
Right. That's easy.
That's easy. That's easy.
Face melting.
It's hard.
That's different. That's hard. But yeah, no. I take it with a grain of salt. Don't let your kids watch horror movies.
I think keep horror movies, you know, maybe during and post puberty.
I think there's certain things that kids should watch that they should be scared of. And it's a lot of the older kids movies, that things like the Dark Crystal and stuff, certain scenes in like Star Wars that linger in your mind of being scary.
Yeah,
there's certain things I think there's certain things I think a kid should be scared of.
Right.
Like everybody should experience that, but I don't think they should watch like horror movies stuff.
Right. Hey, to close this out, did you guys hear the crazy news that Disney released?
No, what?
Hold on. Let me share my screen. All right. This guy from High School Musical. Did you guys see this?
No.
Disney just came out and said, for all those who are wondering, he's gay.
We knew that. What? We all knew that.
Back in the day when they were making these, they weren't making publicly gay characters, but we knew.
We knew.
You know what? I never put two and two together. I never put two and two together because I never thought of that.
I feel like I've heard him in interviews say that the character was gay.
Apparently not. Apparently it's like a whole thing. Now it's Disney's officially released.
I'm sorry. We all knew he was gay.
I never thought of that because I just didn't think
because he hangs out with his mom and his sister, and he loves wearing matching clothes with his sister. He was gay.
He was gay.
He was gay.
He's obviously gay.
I don't think, and honestly, the fact that nobody brings it up in High School Musical
is a little surprising.
Well, no, it's probably closer to reality.
Oh, you think?
Everybody knows he's gay.
Yeah, that's just how it is.
The flamboyantly gay guy. Nobody has to say he's gay.
Right.
We all know. And everybody at that high school, I guess, was just really cool. And
super woke.
They were just super cool with the guy. I mean, wait. He likes singing and dancing, don't we all?
He's from a rich family.
Troy was kind of gay.
He was.
Corbin Blue's character was kind of gay.
Yeah, he got a little more gay as he got into jump in. They started doing jump rope.
They released the poster for the new Jeremy Allen White, Zac Efron wrestler movie.
They did?
Both gay in that movie.
What's it called?
They're playing brothers. I'm not sure. Just type in
gay brothers.
Jeremy Allen White, Zac Efron wrestling movie poster.
Dang it, that's a lot to type out.
I'll type it in then.
No, I got it. I almost got it done.
High School Musical. I don't even remember.
Wait, say that again, Wyatt?
All right.
What was his name in High School Musical? Steve?
Got it.
Her name was Sharpay.
Ryan.
Sharpay.
Why?
His name was Ryan.
I think so.
Ryan and Sharpay.
I think you're right, man.
Why do I know this? I haven't seen the movie in years, so don't hate on me.
All right, so let me pull up this picture with Jeremy Allen White, and I'm trying to get it big so it'll fill the screen. Wow, Joshua, this is a lot. This is a lot. Let me share this.
Wait, what do you mean it's a lot? To share
this
trailer.
This
oh yeah, that's what kind of why
I don't think this is a poster. I think this is just like a group picture or whatever.
There is a poster if you pulled up the right one.
Well, this is enough, I think. So let's see. Let me see. I'll do stop sharing, and then I will present. Screen share. Window. Here we go. Ready? Here it is.
Yeah.
That's gay.
No. It's about 4 brothers.
Yeah, they're brothers.
They're
brothers that are gay for each other. Okay, I'm just gonna say this. The 2 known faces here.
No, they're all known. Just
definitely put a lot more work into their physical. Their physical. Right?
No, I think all these dudes are big. These dudes are just wearing shirts with sleeves on them.
Look, Jeremy Allen White and Zac Efron are jacked.
Jeremy looks huge.
The other 2 fellas are like my size. Okay.
Well, we're going down in age. These are the younger brothers who haven't juiced up as much yet.
Yeah.
You think?
Yeah. I would 100% agree. But they aren't even close to. I'm not sure. But wait, they haven't even. No, that's not what I was gonna say. The guys that actually they're playing are huge. Like if you look at
massive,
photos of them, they're actually a lot bigger than them. Than like Zac Efron is or Jeremy Allen White.
And I'm thinking that they're
like
supposed
John
to be
Cena
younger.
size.
Yeah, they're supposed to be younger in this.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that they're smaller. But no, I've seen pictures of the guys. They're big,
Let's see.
Guys. Lots of roids.
Right. Let me try this real quick. I think I found a picture of these fellas. And then we'll finish up. But let's see here. Here we go. Is it these guys?
Yes.
I think so.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Them's the brothers?
They're big. Big boys.
Big boys. Steroids out the wazoo, man.
Very big
I don't know. They might not be on steroids. Probably, though.
I mean, click that picture of him in the ring.
They don't look ripped, so that would be the sign of steroids. They just look big, like...
I don't know. Zac Efron's pretty much got the physique there.
Yeah, he's big. He's rocking a big
Zac Efron,
big
hold on. Zac Efron's got an identical physique to this guy.
Yeah.
Like, he customized his physique.
Yeah.
He went into the barber shop in GTA 5 and said, let me get the exact proportions.
That's
right. Dang it, man. That is a carbon
copy. He customized his face, too.
Right. Carbon copy, I would say.
Yeah.
All right.